What's up, YouTube? Hey, it's Jeremy at 911 Small Engine Repair, Maryville, Indiana. Hey, we're working on this Tempest Ventmaster 575X torque saw. Belongs to the Hobart Fire Department. This here is a roof vent saw, but I want to point something out to you in case you happen to work on one of these yourself. Even though this is a Tempest branded machine, the power head is actually manufactured by Husqvarna. They're referenced by the ID tag there on the front of the machine. It is a 575 XP saw. The serial number is listed. I do want to caution you if you work on these though and you go to look up parts for it, there are 14, maybe 15 submodels of this engine. So you got to be real careful and make sure you're getting the right thing. A little backstory on this. I took this in for a no running condition. Found that the carburetor was plugged up real bad, and for a fire department saw, I'm pretty apt to go ahead and replace the carburetor rather than to rebuild it. This thing needs to work, and it needs to work every time without fail. So I went ahead and put a new carburetor on, and I test ran it. It is not idling quite well, so I believe we're going to go ahead and adjust the high and low needle on the carburetor for this machine. So to do that, we can access through the two adjustment holes here, and you can see you also have the throttle adjustment hole here. The low side's always going to be the needle closest to the head of the engine, the high side, of course, to the rear, and then the throttle down below. But in this instance, we're going to go ahead and pop the clips on the air cleaner cover to expose the carburetor so I can look down in there and see what's going on. So stand by. We're going to go ahead and pop those clips off, take the cover off, and we'll be right back with you. All right, YouTubers, we're back on the Husqvarna 575 XP Tempest Ventmaster saw. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here so you can see what I'm looking at. But these are going to be your adjustment needles right here on the new Zama carburetor. Again, I bought this as an OEM. It's a Husqvarna part, so I wanted to get OEM rather than an aftermarket carburetor. Again, this is a fire department saw. These guys need to make sure this thing works every single time without fail, and no adjustments needed during use. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust these needles out. Again, this saw has a condition where it will start, but it wants to idle and run away with you a little bit, and then it wants to die. So I'm going to go ahead and make some light adjustments on these two carburetor needles. And what I want to let you know is you always want to start with your low side needle first. So baseline would be that you would turn your adjusting screws inward. You're going to seat them, so it's going to be inward to the right until they seat. Do not tighten them just until they make contact. So they're actually needle valves that are letting the fuel through into the carburetor. So you're going to start on the low side first. So the baseline is going to be seated down, both needles seated down, and then backed off 1/8 of a turn. I will illustrate that here in just a moment when we get going a little bit further. Stand by just a little bit. All right, YouTube. As much as I can find on this, generally these limit caps. Okay, so let me back up just a little bit here. So this carburetor is brand new. It's OEM, genuine Husqvarna. But however, it is a Zama carburetor, Zama, however you say it. Anyhow, if you look into the adjustment screws, you'll see these limiter caps here, or these limiter plugs. I can't really figure out any other way to get them out. Of course, like everyone else, I consulted Professor Google, and basically those brass pins, or those brass limiter pins, are going to have to be drilled out. I'm going to try 1/8 inch, maybe a tiny bit smaller than an 1/8 inch, and we're gonna drill one of them out, see how we do. All right, we'll be back. Stay tuned. What's up, YouTube? All right, we're back on the Husqvarna 575 XP. We're working on getting those limiting caps out of this brand new Zama Husqvarna OEM carburetor. In any case, so you can see I did take, and with this exact same setup, of course, I covered the interiors and the air intake of with paper toweling to make sure no shavings got down in there. Last thing I've got to do here is take the air gun and blow it off. But I wanted to point something out to you. So on the high side needle, I took the approach of drilling the hole, as you see, using this setup here. I used the M12 drill tonight, And I actually opted for a 3/32 bit. Now in hindsight, I probably should have gone one size bigger, which would be 7/64. However, the 1/8 inch seemed a little bit too big once I get on there. So yeah, I drilled out the pin. And then I simply used a wood screw, a deck screw, with a sharp tip there. And I was able to get down inside the limiter cap, as you can see here, and then just pull it straight out. But I wanted to show these to you. There's the limiter cap there, and you can see it does limit the amount of adjustment that can be made on these carburetors. I didn't find anything myself on YouTube with this exact limiter cap, so I thought it would be nice to kind of show you guys what I found out. As you can see, the little brass pin would be stopped by the limiter on the cap there. So, and on the second one, on the low side needle, I took the approach of I drilled it out from the back, and I actually wanted to get access to the pin itself, the little brass pin. I wanted to remove it. So, with some tweezers and a few minutes and a flashlight in my mouth, I did. And I wanted to point it out to you because it's super, super tiny, but that's it. That's the little brass pin. So I kind of went the extra mile, but I just had to see what it was that was stopping the limit. So yeah, took the same approach there, pulled the little brass pin out, and what you can see now is, if you look down inside, excuse me, sorry about my finger. If you look down inside there, and I'll try to get some light on that for you. If you look down inside there, the low and high adjustment needles are simply going to be a flat blade screwdriver now. So if you can, yeah, there we go. So yeah, like I said, I need to take the blowgun and blow all that out. But with a little bit of luck, folks, we should be able to get this saw back to top running condition. I would like to say those limiting caps are in there installed by the manufacturer, I believe, mostly as an EPA regulation, so that the saw can't be tuned to EPA, standards and whatnot. I don't recommend doing this if you're not kind of handy with a drill, with a steady hand, a little bit of confidence about yourself. I don't recommend trying to do this. You'll destroy a rather expensive carburetor. So I don't want to encourage you to just go ahead and knock those out. But the only way to truly tune, a good 2-cycle is by having, the mixture screws, which is super awesome because a good 2-cycle mechanic can get those tuned up pretty good by sound. So I do want to point out too, as you can see, this back, the low side needle, that pin had to be drilled out there a little bit of at an angle to keep the chuck from approaching the cylinder head, and I also had to unplug the spark plug wire. But so I'm going to go ahead and get the air gun, blow this thing off, and get her adjusted out. See how we're doing. All right, stay tuned. Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's Jeremy with 911 Small Engine. You'll notice it's daytime now, and shop supervisor is watching the door diligently. But came back to this saw this morning, as where he left off the last time. I had done some modification to the carburetor. There are a couple of things I want to kind of point out on these saws if you ever find yourself working on one. Because this carburetor is a little bit unique. Now this is the one that I removed. You can see that the factory limiter caps are on. But one thing I specifically wanted to point out, it does have 4 mounting screws, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to make sure that this nipple seats directly into the rubber housing going into the intake that goes in to the cylinder head, and obviously make sure that your fuel connection is tight here as well and not leaking. When you install this carburetor, it does help to be, I guess, for lack of a better word, it kind of helps to maybe have more than one set of hands, because typically you kind of have to start these 2 bolts first to ensure that nipple seats properly and that the air boot, the rubber boot and gasket system bottoms out on the carburetor face here, and then you follow up there on the bottom side. So please be careful when installing these carburetors. You will save yourself a lot of headaches if you just take your time and make sure you're doing it the right way. But as we talked last night, I did do some modification to that carburetor. I do not, again, please, disclaimer, so 911 Small Engine Repair does not recommend a garage, just your typical garage technician, garage mechanic, whatever you want to call it, shade tree guy, to do those kind of modifications. Again, as we talked last night, the limiting caps are on there for a reason. And one of the dangers of taking them off is actually you're going to find out that the adjustment screws can work themselves in or work themselves out. The limiting caps kind of help keep them from, you know, going in and out of too far out in and out of adjustment. But I went ahead and did that because I could not get this saw running properly, and that was after I checked the spark arrestor. That was after I made sure that all my intake boots and everything were tight. I had no vacuum leaks. The fuel delivery was solid. So you want to make sure that if you're doing that, that you're comfortable with doing that and making sure that you kind of know what you're doing. Otherwise, you can cause a big problem and destroy a pretty expensive carburetor. So if you give me just a moment here, I'm going to get this thing ready to start up. We'll post another video in just a moment. Hopefully we can get it to idle out, take throttle well, and we'll go from there. But thanks for watching along. I do want to remind everybody I'm a mechanic, not a videographer. Hopefully these get better, more enjoyable content. But I know that Andre would agree that he doesn't like being out here if we've got nothing going on. As you can see, he's pretty sleepy. But always remember, when you start these units, make sure to pull the choke out once. Obviously, you're going to want to make sure the compression release is activated. Otherwise, the saw will hurt your arm trying to start it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a pull. We'll see if we can't get it to take idle, take wide open throttle, and we'll relight the video here in just a moment. Thanks for watching. And there you have it, YouTube. That's a perfectly tuned saw. As you can see at idle, that chain just barely creeps along. He's got something to say. That chain just barely creeps along at idle. That's kind of what you want it to do, just kind of ratchet forward. You do not want it running at full speed for safety reasons, of course. You can see that it takes wide open throttle quite well. But yeah, that is one Husqvarna 575 XP, or the Tempest Ventmaster 575X torque. Perfectly tuned, ready for action at the Hobart Fire Department. Thanks for watching. Look forward to more videos sharing with you guys. Take care of yourselves out there and be safe. Thank you.